Good afternoon, folks. And today we talk about certain things that haven't been talked about for a while. We're going to talk about the Kansas State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon. Now, the reason why we're talking about Kansas State is because that's where Will Howard transferred from. And we're going to talk about his stats there versus his stats at Ohio State. But we're not going to talk about his stats there because he's not a top 10. He's a top 10er at Kansas State. Now, we'll start with Kansas State first because we're going to talk about how they all pan out. Now, Josh Freeman, who is one of the top 10 quarterbacks. We're going to talk about the top 10 quarterbacks from there. Josh Freeman, from 06 to 08, he was number one. He went 680 yards. He was 680 of 1,151. He completed 680 yards of 1,151 attempts for 8,078 yards. 44 touchdowns, 34 interceptions, and he was also had 15 victories, 20 losses. Entertaining numbers there. Now, our second guy, Skylar Thompson, number 7. 552, completed 552 passes out of 885 attempts. 7,134 yards. Total yards. And 42 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. 24 of 21 record in the 2017-21 to 2021 season. Then you have number 11, Lynn Dickey. Went 501 of 994, 6,208 yards, 29 touchdowns, 64 interceptions, had a 15-16 record. He's from the 68-70 era, so some good old age there. Then you have the 2013-2014 year, Jake Waters, number 15, went 421 of 657 for 5,970 yards, 40 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, went 17 of 9. Good numbers there. And then you have Will Howard. He's number 18, went 219 of 357 yards, 5,786 total yards. Well, 219 completions out of 357 attempts. 5,786 yards, 48 touchdowns, 25 interceptions, went 15 of 12. Now, number 5, Chad May, was a transfer out of California State Fullerton in 91. Had 385 yards completed, 688 attempts. Had 5,253 yards, 28 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. Went 18 of 5. So pretty good numbers there. Now you have the other numbers here. The 1987 and 90 year, number 10, Carl Straw, went 448 of 833. 5,223 yards, 19 touchdowns, 31 interceptions. Quite daring, even though he went 6 of 26. Then 2003 season, number 11, Eli Robertson, went 307 of 628, 5,099 yards, 37 touchdowns, 26 interceptions, went 28 of 12. And then 09 to 12, Colin Klein, 370 yards of 604, 370 of 604, with 4,724 yards, 30 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Had a 21-5 record. Then number 18, Jonathan Beasley, 259 yards, 259 completions of 544 yards of 544 attempts. Now, 4,642 yards, 33 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 21-4. So, now to look at these numbers here. 4,000, the completions versus attempts, yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and record. 4,142 completed passes out of 7,341 attempts. 52,849 yards, 350 touchdowns, 282 interceptions, 180 wins, and 130 losses. Impressive. Not bad for Kansas State. Now we got the Oregon Ducks and the Michigan teams. Some entertaining games here. You have the 2012-2014 season of Oregon. Number 8, Marcus Mariota, went 7 of 79 for incomplete. 779 of 1,167 for 10,796, 105 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, the record of 37-5. Then, in 2016-19 season, number 10, Justin Herbert, 827 and 1,293 yards, 10,541 yards, 95 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, went 29-14. Then 2022-2023 season, number 10, Bo Nix, went 658 of 879, 8,101 yards, 74 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 22-5. Then in the 87-90 season, Bill Musgrove went 582 and 1,018 for 7,631 yards, 55 touchdowns, 38 interceptions. The record of 25-15. Then Danny O'Neal in the 91-94 season went 571 of 1,031, 7,618 yards. Some pretty good numbers there. And then you have let's look at them here. Yeah, for 7,618 yards, 58 touchdowns, 34 interceptions for our 22-16 season. Now, Kellen, number 11, Kellen Clemens, 613 with 1,005 yards, 7,555 yards, 61 touchdowns, 24 interceptions, with an 18-15 record. Then Chris Miller went 560, 1,015, 6,661 yards, 42 touchdowns, 39 interceptions, 16-17. Then number 3, Joey Harrington, 445 of 813, 6,057 yards, 52 touchdowns, 21 interceptions, went 21-3. Then Dan Fouts went 482, a 72 season. And Chris Mill, he was the 98. Joey Harrington was 98-01 season. Chris Miller was 83 of the 1983 to 86 season. And Kellen Clemens was 2002-2005 season. Now, Dan Fouts was 2008-11 season. Went 482 and 956 for 5,995 yards, 37 touchdowns, 54 interceptions. 54 interceptions for... and then went 15 of 17 with one interception. Now, number 1, Darren Thomas, 449 of 773, 5,910 yards, 66 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and 23 of 4. Now, the total numbers here, 5,966 of 9,910 for 76,885 yards, 645 touchdowns, 311 interceptions, 228 of 111 and 1. So that tells you a lot about that team, about Oregon. Now, we'll look at all these numbers and stats when we're done here. Now we got Michigan. The top Michigan quarterback, number 7, Chad Henne, from 04 to 07, won 828 for 1,387 yards, 9,715 yards, 87 touchdowns, 37 interceptions, 33 of 14. Then 2000 to 2003, number 16, John Navarre, went 744 of 1,327, 9,014, 70 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, went 33 of 10. And then 2010-2014 season, number 12 or 98, Devin Garner, went 475 of 787, 6,336 yards, 44 touchdowns, 32 interceptions, 15 of 14. And then in 2009 through 12, number 16, Denard Robinson, went 427 of 747, 6,250 yards, 49 touchdowns, 39 interceptions, 29 of 19. And then number 9, J.J. McCarthy, went 482 of 713, 6,226 yards for 49 yards, 11 interceptions, 27-1, which is going to be very questionable before you know it. 2021 to 2023 season. And now, number 15, Elvis Grap, went 476 of 754, 5,859 yards for 64 touchdowns, 29 interceptions, went 38, 5, and 3. Number 2, Shea Patterson, 2018-19 season, went 424 of 706, 5,661 yards, 45 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, went 19 of 7. And now, in the 91-94 years, number 10, Todd Collins, went 431 of 663, 5,504 yards, 34 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, went 15 at 8. Then in the 83-86 season, number 4, Jim Harbaugh, former head coach, went 368 of 582, 5,214 yards, 31 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. 24-8 and 1 is what he went. And then in 96 through 2000, number 10, Tom Brady, went 395 of 638, 4,773 yards, 30 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and 20 and 5. Now, their stats are 5,050 of 8,304 for 58,326 yards, 503 touchdowns, and 246 interceptions, 253 wins, 91 losses, and 4 ties. So pretty good wins there. Now we go to Ohio State. Top player there, J.T. Barrett. 2014 to 17 went 796 yards, 211, 796 to 211, 1,211, 9,434 yards, 104 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, 38 and 6 record overall. Then the 2020-2022 season, C.J. Stroud went 595 of 830 yards, 8,123 yards, 85 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, went 21 of 4. Then in 92 of 95, number 14, Bobby Hoying, one of my favorite quarterbacks when I was younger, went 463 of 782, 6,751 yards, 54 touchdowns, 33 interceptions, went 35 and 1. And then Art Schleister, number 10, believe it or not, my dad actually fought against him when he was in high school. Funny you should say that. Went from the 78 to 81 years, went 329 and 849 for 6,584 yards, 44 touchdowns, 42 interceptions, 32, 11, and 1. And then 2008, 2010, number 2, Terrell Pryor, went 477 yards, 783, 6,177 yards, 57 touchdowns, 26 interceptions, went 33 and 6. And then number 15, Greg Fry, from the 87-90 season, went 417, 777 yards, 5,974 yards, 36 touchdowns, 35 interceptions, went 17, 14, and 2. He led the amazing charge in 1989 against Minnesota, the longest come-from-behind win, down 31-0, came all the way back to win, 41-37. Impressive win. And then the 96 through 98 season, when number 7, Joe Germain, came in and played, went 399 yards of 666 yards, 5,844 yards, 52 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, went 29 of 5. And then Troy Smith, from 2003 to 06, went 420 of 670, 5,720 yards, 54 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, went 21 of 3. Then Steve Belisari, number 8, who was quite out there, went 351 of 699 for 5,401 yards, 33 touchdowns, 27 interceptions, and 19 of 13. Impressive numbers there. And then you get number 7, Dwayne Haskins, the late Dwayne Haskins. So sad that had to happen. He went 413 of 590 yards. He was from the 2017-2018 season, so 2 seasons he was there, and he put some impressive numbers. 5,396 yards, 54 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. They went 14 and 1. Now, the other time he was there, now we got the numbers for Ohio State here. 4,613 of 7,851, 65,404 yards, 573 touchdowns, 245 interceptions, and 254 wins, 68 losses, and 4 ties. So, that's pretty impressive for Ohio State. Michigan has 91 losses, while, Ohio State has one more win over that team up north. Ohio State has one less interception than that team up north. They threw for more touchdowns, 70 more touchdowns than that team up north, and have multiple completed more passes than that team up north. While Oregon, on their hand, they have more passing yards than Ohio State and Michigan, while Kansas State is doing better when it comes to that team up north. When it comes to certain things, I gotta say, hats off to a lot of these good teams. They played very good seasons. Oregon, they did well. Oregon and Ohio State done significantly better when it comes to passing. Now, we're going to do another little segment on this a little later. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk about Kansas State's winning track record, Michigan Big Ten record, Ohio State's Big Ten record. Now, some of those Big Ten records will be probably shot off. Now, it'll be like as well, but it'll also be like the last time Oregon ever played Kansas State, or when Kansas State ever played Ohio State or Michigan, or when Michigan played. It's going to be a long list between Michigan and Ohio State, so that'll be. I can't even fathom that. But we'd be talking about or Kansas State taking on Oregon, or when the last time every team ever had its league championship. So it's going to be a long list for Ohio State and Michigan. Now, Oregon and Kansas State, we'll have to look at those. Now, Kansas State had their own different league at one point, but then they quickly switched over to a different league later on, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. With that being said, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. With that being said, I'm out here. Peace.